besties, before we get into this video, I want to disclaim that this was a blind date with a book video. And one of the books that I got and ended up reading in this video was from St. Martin's Press, specifically their Griffin imprint. I did not know that at the time of reading. I found that out after reading because I wasn't paying enough attention, but just want to give you the full disclaimer that I will not be talking about that book in this video. So if you notice that there are clips missing, they are. I cut them out of the video because I will not be promoting any books from St. Martin's Press. Per the boycott rules, I will have the link in the description below for you to find out more about this boycott and why there is currently a boycott against St. Martin's Press. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. I just realized with this angle, you can see that I have a band-aid. I had blood work done. Listen, that's what happened. I'm also so happy because I found my Read Smut and Fuck the Patriarchy shirt, which is perfect for this Valentine's Day video. So there are a number of creators who have done this style of video before. I specifically loved Sarah's video series from Sarah without an H, where it was blind date with a book. This video is going on 4 blind dates with a book. I've never done something like this, but I think the concept is so fun and literally anything could happen. I could hate them, I could love them, I could have already read these books, I could have them on my list of books I never plan to read. So let's hope I'm not shit out of luck and go through the books. For this video, I specifically focused on independent bookstores and small businesses. I got one book from The Ripped Bodice, which I ordered from their website. The Ripped Bodice has 2 locations, one in LA and one in Brooklyn, which they just opened. They are a romance-themed independent bookstore that sent me this super cute bookmark. And this is a double blind because I have no idea what this book is, but I also have no idea what it's about. I just know it's a traditionally published romance. Double blind because I don't know what the summary is. Then I purchased a book from Etsy, which came like this and was so freaking cute. The seller included this really cute bookmark, and then it also has a bunch of little stickers on it as well. There you go. Which is such a nice touch. I love how personalized so many sellers are on Etsy. And like The Ripped Bodice, this is double blind because I have no idea what this book is and I don't know what it is about. It was just a cottagecore listing where I could specify what kind of romance books I liked. So I'm excited to see what this person picked for me. And then I went to my local bookstore, which is The Strand, and I picked up these 2 books, which is just a blind date because I know a little bit of something. We get the tagline. I think I know what this is, but I hope that I don't. The artwork is so freaking cute here, and I'm wondering who the heck illustrates these, but I'm gonna guess, which we're gonna start with these 2, so like I might as well guess. I think this one might be My Roommate is a Vampire, and I'm really hoping that this one is not Nora Goes Off Script because I already own that book and I'm past the return window. So let's see what we get and what I'm gonna be reading throughout this vlog. Let's start with rom-com with real estate at stake. Part of me doesn't wanna like completely rip this, and I'm gonna stick with that instinct because I think I will put this into my reading journal. Okay, I don't recognize this cover. 2, you know what it is, but I'm purposely not looking, so it's right in front of my face, so apologies. Thank God it's not Nora Goes Off Script though, because I already own that book. It's 2 people running for the homeowners association, and they have this past where he finds her absolutely infuriating, and she's like, I'm coming for your job because I'm going to be the president of the HOA. I've never heard of this book, which is really fantastic because one of my goals is to read books I've never heard of. So what a great pick. I hope I love it. The second book, let's see what she is. Fuck. It's funny you should ask. I never planned to read this book just because the reviews have been pretty shit. But you know what? Maybe I'll have a completely different opinion, and this matches perfectly with our Valentine's Day aesthetic anyway. So fingers crossed that I like this. Please let me like this. And so we come to the double blind books where I know nothing. So there's a little bit of a summary outside of this one. This wrapping is so cute, by the way. It says stay cool, and they're little snowman ice cream cones. Up and coming Broadway actress catches the eye of big shot Hollywood director. He'll make her a star, but will she break his heart in the process? Let me know in the comments what you think this book is. Leave your guesses. Is this real? It's Real by Kennedy Ryan. I don't know why I'm so impressed with myself that I knew that from the tagline. Oh my gosh, it's a favorite for so many people. I love that this is a romance book centering Black love. I'm so excited to read this. Oh my gosh, I gotta stop myself from reading it first. I'm going on a trip to Maine and this may be the book that I bring with me. What a great selection from the Ripped Bodice, and also what a great price because this book was only $12. So far, I'm really happy with the selections that I've gotten. So the final book is, of course, the Etsy book. So what did this Etsy seller send my way? Thankfully, that ribbon was very easy to untangle as I flashed my Band-Aid at you. Gotta love blood work. It has this super cute little butterfly sticker at the back. Not that you care. Also, I need to paint my nails before I go to Maine tomorrow, so let's hope that happens. Real by Kennedy Ryan. Funny You Should Ask. Next Door Nemesis. I'm most nervous for Funny You Should Ask, but overall so excited to get into this video. So let me get into reading and then I'll update you with my first thoughts on whichever book I pick first. I'm a mood reader. I was gonna say I'm just gonna take Real with me to Maine. Who knows what I'm actually going to take with me, but I'm going to see you with my updates for book number 1. Door Nemesis, which I am now halfway through, and getting into this was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle. The writing isn't that great, to be honest with you. It took me a while to kind of tune it out and then get into the story, which, good news, you do eventually kind of tune it out and just kind of fall into the story. Like, the story itself is interesting. It reminds me that I don't like enemies to lovers, specifically within this book, because it feels very, very, very childish. And also, how am I supposed to root for this guy when he literally blackmails her in the 3rd chapter? Like, how am I supposed to root for him? Because he's giving mommy issues. And that sounds very blunt and rude, but it's true. Let me just start with that. I am a millennial. I am turning 30 years old. This is millennial cringe. The coffee shop is called Cool Beans. I need to unpack why that gives me secondhand embarrassment, because it does. I wish I could tell you I was enjoying this. It's readable, but I'm not enjoying it. I'm not set up to enjoy it. I saw a TikTok yesterday, because I'm writing a book this year that you'll never, ever, ever, ever see because it is for me. It was saying there's a difference between a plot and things happening for the plot versus just a series of scenes and things happening. And that's what this book is. It's just things happening. And we got to the point where these two characters are fucking, and it's so abrupt. It makes no sense. I don't understand the motivations for why these two characters would be fucking, and I really think that they need to go to therapy. Less so her, more so him. I think he needs to go to therapy. I really do, because the way he treats this female character, questionable. So I'm gonna finish this, much to my dismay, and I will let you know what my final thoughts are. I make it sound like I hate this. I don't hate it. I just don't like it. This is the part of the video where I realized that one of the books that I got in these blind date with the books is actually published by St. Martin's Press. I addressed this at the beginning of the video, but you're not gonna see that book here. So instead we're gonna talk about the second book that I read for this video. Next Door Nemesis. It occurs to me that I had a migraine yesterday and perhaps I was being unnecessarily harsh. And while I stand by the fact that this certainly is difficult to get into with the writing style, just because it is not personally the kind of writing style that I enjoy, I did end up enjoying this story, but I felt like there were some things that were missing. For example, I think we really need the perspective of this man here, because we don't get to see Nate at all from his own perspective. So in our minds, we have the same point of view that the female main character has, and that he is petty and that he abandoned her, and some things are just way too easily solved. And I would have loved to see the amount of pining that he had for her throughout this story, because he obviously wanted her very much, but we never got to hear his point of view. And there are things in his past that it would have been helpful to get more of an explanation of, an exploration of, from his own perspective. As I mentioned, some things are a little bit too easily solved. Our main female character is extremely childish, so is he, to be fair, but we're in her head all the time, so we get a sense of just how childish she is. And ultimately, despite my criticisms of this book, I did enjoy it, and I gave it 3.25 stars. It's not something that I will remember for a very long time, but I was fine with these two people as a couple. And while I have some reservations about picking up the next book by this author, just because I didn't personally love the writing style of it, I think I would pick up the next book if it was about, what's her name, Rose? Ruby. If it was about Ruby, because Ruby is such an interesting character, and I think that being in her perspective would be interesting for her story. So that is technically book number 1 for this video complete. I'm gonna move on to book number 2. Yes, I'm aware that it's loud in here. Okay, listen, it's fucking hot. It's hot. I refuse to sweat for this video. The next book I'm gonna be picking up is going to be Real. I'm excited for this one, and it just happens to be a coincidence, which honestly, a bizarre coincidence, that all 4 of the blind date with the books that I got were about Hollywood. I love a Hollywood romance, but I don't want to read Hollywood romance every fucking day. You know what I mean? Anyway, we're gonna get to Real, which I know is very good and I'm very excited about. And it's the indie published version of Real, which is so fun. Is this light too fucking bright? Yes, it is, but I can't help that. The sun is out. I have officially finished Real by Kennedy Ryan, and I'm giving this book 4 stars. If you know what this book is about, it is a Hollywood romance featuring this actress who gets her big debut with this super famous director, and they are filming a biopic about a woman named Desi Blue, who was a really important figure in Black history and was just like a very important musician with a fascinating life, and they're choosing to tell her story. I really enjoyed this so much, but it's not a 5-star read for me. I'm gonna tell you what I loved about it. The second half of this book made me cry so much, and I just loved the realness of the characters throughout this story, particularly Cannon and Neva. They were beautiful. Love their relationship in the second half of the story. In the first half of the story, I found myself enjoying the world building and kind of getting a more behind the scenes look at them filming this movie. But it's like I was supposed to believe in their chemistry and their relationship, but I didn't. I believe they had sexual chemistry, but they hadn't had enough conversations for me to believe their romance, and this is a very slow burn. So I say that to assure you that by the second half of the book, like a little bit before the 200-page mark, we do actually get into their romance. They have more conversations, and you get a better sense as to why they are in love and why they're really good together. I enjoyed this overall, but I feel like if I read this later on in the audiobook, I would enjoy that so much more. This book is mixed media and that we actually get parts of the script for the movie that they are filming. And while Desi's story was really, really interesting, it almost felt like I was reading two different stories. And the author tells us that these stories are intertwined multiple times, obviously because Neva is the actress playing Desi, so she feels a very deep connection to her. But I didn't feel like that was developed enough. Like I wanted to see more of the connection between them, which I don't think is possible. I think what I'm saying here is that whenever I would get Desi's story, I would be pulled into Desi's stories, but also pulled out of canon and Neva's story. I think that this book would work really, really well in audiobook format because you would get to hear the script being read to you. And I think that I would read this book again in the audiobook format and I would give it a higher rating. For now, it's 4 stars. I spent the second half of the book pretty much crying the whole way through. I love the emotional complexity of this story and just the things that our characters are dealing with outside of the main plot of this. So yeah, good time, a win, solid 4-star read for me, which brings me to the final book that I have to read for this video, and that is another Hollywood romance, which I mentioned earlier. What a funny coincidence that I would get so many Hollywood romances for this video. Unfortunate that this is also the week where I'm having headaches every fucking day. So I'm gonna take some aspirin and some painkillers and then I will see you with my initial update for funny, whatever it is. And I'll give you an initial impressions and then a final update. I feel like balancing these vlogs are so difficult because I don't want it to just be the clip of like the final review, but also if I give you updates constantly, the video gets too long. So let me know what you prefer in the comments. Like genuinely, I would love to know. Do you like it being a shorter vlog where I'm just updating you when I finish the book or when something really important happens? Or would you prefer to see my opinions and impressions as I'm reading the story, maybe having 2 or 3 updates as opposed to just the one? But I'm going to take the painkillers as I mentioned, and I'm going to read the book, and it will be nighttime by the time we get to our first update. We all knew that it would come to this from the very beginning, and you saw my face when I opened this book and I was like, ugh, I was never going to read this book. And it turns out I had very valid reasons for never wanting to read this book. You know how sometimes I'll say like a character is 2-dimensional? These characters are 1-dimensional. In fact, these characters don't exist. It's just words on a page. I got 65 pages into the story, which doesn't seem like a lot, but honestly it's like almost a quarter of the way through. I just didn't enjoy it. Like I said, the characters were flat, have no personality. It literally feels like reading words on a page. I could not visualize anything. I'm supposed to believe that she, fresh out of like her career, got this role where she could interview this mega famous celebrity where she so clearly is not qualified and is such a shitty interviewer. No, the whole time she's lusting after him because he's a celebrity and he's her celebrity crush. I'm just like, it gives me the ick. At the same time, our hero in this story, at the time that they first meet, is struggling with addiction and alcoholism, and she's taking advantage of that. She acknowledges that she's taking advantage of that, but she even has a thought at some point that if she was somebody else, she would be buying him shots and like encouraging him to loosen up so that she could get better answers from him. The ick. So I was looking at the reviews just to get a sense of, does this get better? Because how could I be 65 pages into the story and be like, bleh? So I looked at the reviews. No, it does not get better. Actually, it doesn't. And the reason why I discovered, keep in mind, nothing here has been confirmed. People have just made their conclusions based on the supposed real life article that this book is supposedly based on. Gives me such an ick. I'm like, obviously they don't feel like full characters if you are writing fan fiction about a real life article with real people. You don't know these people. So they can't feel like real characters. I'm DNFing is what I'm saying. I don't care about these characters. I don't care to want to care about these characters. I do not like this story. I do not enjoy this writing. Technically, the writing is fine, but the development, non-existent. And the way that she likes him because he's a celebrity, like, yes, I like a Hollywood romance and it's totally fine for her to have a celebrity crush, but for me to believe that they have a real romance and the reason she feels any kind of romantic attraction to him is based on her preconceived notions of who he is as a celebrity and because he's her celebrity crush. So she's attracted to his fame, and not him. So we're gonna leave that where it is, and that's an unfortunate side effect of, you know, doing this kind of video. Regardless of my opinions, I still had a lot of fun doing this video, even if everything did not work for me. I really enjoy the concept of a blind date with a book, and I think it's a fun way to be introduced to books that you have never heard of, or that I've never heard of. In the case of this video, it was really enjoyable to go through them, but there were no standouts for me, and a risk of doing this is that you get a book that you had absolutely no interest in, as was the case in Funny You Should Ask, which has a gorgeous cover, but most certainly is not the book for me. The standout book, even though I just said there wasn't one, the most standout book, it's of course Real by Kennedy Ryan, but I knew I was going to enjoy this. This was such a good pick from the Ripped Bodice. But again, it's been my TBR for a very long time, so I knew that I would like this. And what I didn't mention in a previous clip is that there's a character in here named Evan and a character named Lynn, who's like the set designer, and I wanted to see their romance so bad. So I went to Kennedy Ryan's like Goodreads page, because I know it's a Hollywood Renaissance novel, so it's part of a series. No. There's been nothing else published in this series, so I may never see Evan and Lynn's story, but know that I really want to see Evan and Lynn's story. Next Door Nemesis ended up being fine, but it certainly was missing a lot of key elements. I was really happy to be introduced to the character of Ruby though, and if there is a book with Ruby, I might be tempted to pick that one up, but still, pretty mediocre book, and I don't leave this video feeling like, I'm so happy that I read this, but I am happy that I made progress towards my goal in reading a book I've never heard of. And of course, as you all know, the video that we're not going to discuss because it was published by St. Martin's Press, but I do want to say that I want to give a shout out to the Etsy shop I bought this book from, because they did such a good job with finding a selection that I would enjoy with having such minimal information. The package that they sent me was really lovely, and they were just such a thoughtful small business, so I do want to shout them out in the description. I will have a link to their Etsy shop. That does conclude this video where I went on 3 blind dates with a book, and like most blind dates, it was fine. I will see you in my next video, besties. As always, thank you so much for watching. Bye.